Good morning, LA. This is Chargers Now. I am your host, Will Ortner. And look, I know this isn't the typical chat sports studio where I'm coming to you from, but that's because there was breaking news with the Chargers. Well, of course, I had to make sure that I had you covered in the best way that I know possible. Make sure that you hit that sub button because the minute that there is breaking news, we're going to have it covered for you. We had a short out as soon as news broke from NFL insider Ian Rappaport that the Chargers had signed center Tyler Biadasz from the Washington Commanders. That was his previous team. And we're going to go into today on why I think this was a great move by the Chargers, what position they fulfilled, and what position they can still reach out to and fulfill, and why I actually think, now that I've had time to kind of mull it over, I think this is actually even a better move than what I had for my perfect free agency plan. We're going to dive all into that today. So for those of you who are just waking up or haven't had a chance to check Twitter, haven't had a chance to check your phone, the Chargers have signed center Tyler Biadasz right before NFL free agency. He was released by the Washington Commanders last week. And so the Chargers are going to get a veteran center to come in now and lead that offense. And I think that's an extremely big upgrade for the Commanders. Obviously, Bradley Bozeman, it wasn't the way that probably that he wanted his career to go out, but frankly, it wasn't very good. It's the worst kept secret in the National Football League right now that the Chargers are looking to rebuild that offensive line, specifically in the interior of their offensive line. They had to go get a new center and had to go get two new guards, or at least re-sign Zion Johnson and then potentially go and get another guard in free agency or draft someone else. Just depends on what general manager Joe Ortiz wants to do there after the release of Mekhi Becton. Now, what I love about this decision and what I love about this signing is that the deal for Biadasz is an effing steal. And I mean that. You're getting a veteran center who is pretty darn good to come in, and he is going to play on a 3-year, $30 million contract. So he's going to get $10 million, when I said that the Chargers should have been prepared to pay $20 million to Tyler Linderbaum. And I still think that Tyler Linderbaum would have been a better center than Biadasz. And in fact, I still think that Connor McGovern would have been a better center than Tyler Biadasz. But I do believe that when you look at the free agent centers, Tyler Biadasz is someone who is probably that third, maybe that fourth center in NFL free agency. And when you look at his stats, according to PFF, or at least his grades according to PFF, he's over 70 in basically everything but pass blocking. And pass blocking, he's right there at that number, and he doesn't give up a ton of sacks. But you have to remember that the quarterbacks he was blocking for were much more mobile. They're moving around a lot more, so they hold on to the football more, and that leads to more sacks. So what you're telling me is that the Chargers were able to improve at that position. They were able to get a veteran who knows how to run an offense, how to lead an offensive line group. He is still young enough that you do think you're going to get a couple more good years out of him. But the most important one is that you got him for cheap. Not because the Chargers don't have a ton of cap space, because we all know they have a ton of cap space. In fact, we're the number one team in the National Football League in salary cap space. But I believe that a move like this signifies that the Chargers are going to continue to be a major active player in NFL free agency. Because instead of paying top dollar for the number one guy and then having to go get like the fifth or sixth guy in NFL free agency in other positions of need, because the Chargers do still need to go and get an edge rusher or two. The Chargers are going to have to make a decision on Quentin Johnston and that wide receiver room. Do they give him a fifth-year extension? Do they go sign another wide receiver? Do they go and make a big splash and sign a big name corner? That's someone that is a position of need as well. Well, instead what they do is they go and say, hey, we're going to get someone that fits all the needs that we need. We don't need the number one guy necessarily, so that way we can fill a more full and complete roster. I love that. And you know that Mike McDaniel would not sign off on this signing if he did not believe that Biadasz was going to be able to come in and instantly jump this offense forward. So you know from the very beginning this was a smart move and this was the correct decision. Now the next thing that I really want to dive into here is where do you think that the Chargers are going to go from here. When I look at this Chargers team, it definitely feels like there are a ton of avenues and space that they can still attack NFL free agency and get some big name guards. So much so that now all of a sudden pick 22 could potentially be a pick that, who knows, it might not be you have to take a Vega Ione or a Caden Proctor. Maybe now they have a little bit more wiggle room with pick 22. Before we get into that, I do want to know what your one-word reaction is to the Tyler Biadasz signing. Let me know down below in the comment section. Is this good, bad, ugly, or indifferent? At the end of the show, I'll make sure that I give you my opinion on that. When it comes to my plan, I had originally had the Chargers going after Tyler Linderbaum. If you watched yesterday's video, you know that was my perfect offseason move. I now believe that this was a better move by General Manager Joe Ortiz. You're getting a guy who has a lot of tread left on the tire. You're getting a guy who can play at a very high level. You're getting a guy at a relatively cheap price for a center. You're getting him essentially for half the price at least of what you are willing to sign Tyler Linderbaum. You're going to give quarterback Justin Herbert peace of mind, because he is going to be able to come into next year knowing, hey, my partner in crime, my center, the guy who's got to be my number 2. If I'm going to be Batman, he's got to be Robin. I know that he's a veteran and he can plug in and instantly do all the things that I need a center to do. I think that General Manager Joe Ortiz saving this money is going to allow the Chargers to make a bigger push at edge rushing talent. Whether that's Odafe Oweh, getting Khalil Mack back in LA, whether that's going after a Trey Hendrickson as a pivot instead of Oweh, if maybe that is going after someone for a big name trade, trying to go after a Jonathan Grenard potentially. This now gives you a bunch of space and a bunch of room to operate. You're making sure that you're filling a position in need without paying too much or paying so much money that you understand you're going to have to sacrifice that money in another spot. The Chargers came into today with the most salary cap space in the National Football League. And while they will not have that number anymore, they're still one of the top teams with salary cap space. So there's plenty of room to maneuver. That Thule extension that people have been talking about, that's still an option on the table now. This move did not force that extension talk to be delayed or pushed off. There is still an avenue where you can go in and feel comfortable about potentially giving Quentin Johnston his 5th-year extension. This is a wonderful move. You're getting a steal in LA. And I understand that it's easy right now for me to say, hey, Tyler Biadasz, that's going to be a steal, home run, going to work no matter what. And sometimes those things don't happen. I'm sure last year you heard a lot of Chargers experts, a lot of NFL experts say Mekhi Becton, home run signing. Home run. And then when he was on the field, he was butt. And when he wasn't on the field, that was bad too. And you had to move on from him. So there's no guarantee at the end of the day that Tyler Biadasz is going to pan out and be everything and more that the Chargers needed and wanted. But I'll tell you right now, if you had to kind of gauge my reaction on where I'm at, I'm fired up. Like, that's an awesome move by General Manager Joe Ortiz. And you knocked out that spot, that position, that center spot, before you even have to really get into the weeds. Because NFL free agency, that opening tampering period is Monday. Bullets are going to start flying. Dudes are going to start signing. It's going to be mayhem. And now the Chargers don't have to worry about potentially overpaying. There were rumors that they were bringing Biadasz around the facility and stuff like that. There were rumors that they were reaching out, talking, having conversations with him. I love this, man. Find a way to get him in. That's fan-freaking-tastic. I love what General Manager Joe Ortiz did. Right now, if you had to ask me what my one-word reaction to the Tyler Biadasz signing is, good. It was good. You made a smart decision. It's not necessarily going to be the biggest and the sexiest decision, but the more and more you think about it, the more and more we're all realizing the Chargers, they probably knocked that one out of the park. Thank you guys so much for viewing today's video. Like I said, make sure that you hit that sub button. We have you covered on all the Chargers news going on throughout the year of 2026. I am going to have you covered. I personally guarantee it. You don't want to miss any news. You don't want to miss any rumors. We got you covered here on Chat Sports and on Chargers Now. Thank you guys so much for viewing today's video, and bolt up.